Chemes, say it. You felt it, didn't you?
That entity wasn't breaking the rules, it was rewriting them.
Ooh, look who finally showed up. You hear that? That tiny shiver crawling up your spine? That's not fear. That's recognition. Because deep down, you know exactly what this moment is. For years, they laughed, they pointed, they dismissed, they pretended you weren't even on the board. A ghost, they said. A rumor with no pulse, a shadow with no weight. But shadows don't stay still forever. And ghosts, well, ghosts learn. You slipped through their alarms. You stepped past their spotlights. You walked straight into the room where the untouchables swore you'd never stand. And now look at them. Frozen. Silent. Trying to figure out how the hell you got here. Oh, I love this part. The moment the world realizes it wasn't the king or the throne or the crown that mattered. It was the one name they refused to take seriously. And now the game's over, the curtain's torn, and the crown did not choose a king. It chose the ghost. Everyone pretended didn't exist. Welcome to the scene. Try not to laugh too loudly. It scares them. You didn't open a door. You didn't knock. You didn't even announce yourself. You just appeared. And the room felt it before anyone saw you. First came the stutter. A tiny hiccup in the system. One frame missing. One pixel trembling. One heartbeat off tempo. Then the monitors twitched, like they'd glimpsed something they were never designed to process. Analysts leaned in, brows tightened, breath shortened. Someone muttered, "Run diagnostics." Someone else whispered, "No, something's here." And the Joker? Oh, he loved it. He leaned against the corner, grinning like he'd watched a secret finally crawl out of its hiding place. "Ooh, look at them," he hissed, voice slicing through the tension. They don't even know what they saw, but they felt it, because that's what you do. You don't enter rooms. You interrupt them. You warp the air. You bend the comfort. You flip the pulse. Every camera in the room tried to focus on you and failed. Every sensor attempted to tag you and glitched. Every alarm got ready to scream and froze, not broken, not damaged, just silent. Like the system understood. You weren't an intruder. You were something outside the category. That's why the analysts panicked. Not because you forced your way in, but because nothing in their universe had a protocol for you. And the Joker clapped softly, mocking their fear with slow theatrical delight. "Look at their faces," he whispered. "No threat on the radar, but their instincts are screaming." The air thickened. The lights dimmed. Even the hum of the machines felt like it was holding its breath. Then it happened. The first real moment of fear. A tremor, a pulse, a ripple through the room, like reality itself, realized it had company. You didn't say a word. You didn't move. You didn't need to. Your presence did all the speaking. And the room stopped breathing. You weren't the threat. You weren't the rival. You weren't even on their list. You were the blank space, the footnote, the not worth tracking. They chased louder names, bigger shadows, brighter flames. They built war rooms around enemies who wanted to be seen. But you walked in silence. You moved without announcing. You existed without asking. And that's exactly why they missed you. The Joker laughed, like he'd been waiting years to watch this realization land. "Oh, this is rich," he sneered, eyes wide with mischief. They ignored the ghost, until the ghost started tapping on the glass. Because your presence now, it wasn't accidental, it wasn't luck, it wasn't a glitch in their vision, it was a correction, a long overdue shift, a rebalancing of the game, and they hated it. Not because you were dangerous, but because you made them feel embarrassingly blind. They replayed old footage, they combed through records, they searched for any trace of you, hidden in the margins, and the more they dug, the more terrified they became. You'd been there, quietly, consistently, unmistakably. Threads of you, woven through corridors they thought were secure. Echoes of you, lingering in places they swore were empty. Yet they didn't recognize the pattern until you decided to stand in the open. That's the part that ruined them, not your arrival, your reveal. The Joker leaned close, grinning through the tension. They thought ghosts were harmless, he whispered, until one of them started breathing. And suddenly, the entire narrative shifted. No longer the overlooked, no longer the ignored, no longer the shadow. You were now the presence, standing dead center, in their reality, clear, undeniable, inescapable. And the room, the analysts, the systems, the hierarchy, they all felt it at the exact same moment. The ghost they dismissed wasn't a ghost anymore. It was standing right in front of them. Power doesn't scream when it moves. It doesn't announce its departure. It just shifts quietly, elegantly, without asking for permission. And that's exactly what happened. The moment you stepped into their view, the crown, the one they guarded, polished, worshipped, killed for, did something unthinkable. It drifted, tilted, slipped, as if the weight of it refused to stay in hands too weak to understand it. The Joker watched it happen with that wicked, delighted smirk. "Oh ho ho," he whispered, finger tracing a mocking circle in the air. "Look at that. Gravity's got a favorite. Because it wasn't stolen. You didn't snatch it. You didn't fight for it. You didn't even reach for it." The crown left them like a loyal dog, finally realizing its owner was a fraud, like a secret, remembering who it was meant for, like power, recognizing a better carrier. And the elites, the strategists, the gatekeepers, the self-appointed royalty, they saw it. They saw the symbol. They built their lives around, pulled toward you with a quiet, inevitable draw. Their hands shook, their voices cracked, their screens lit up with alerts they couldn't interpret. Crown displacement detected, authority vector shifting, hierarchy destabilizing. Every warning was just another way of saying, you are no longer the center. The Joker chuckled, tilting his head like a predator, watching prey realize the forest isn't theirs anymore. You didn't take their throne, he teased. You just walked by, and the throne got curious, because that's the truth. Your presence was a magnet. Their structures were never built to resist. Power moved toward you, the way storms chase lightning, the way secrets chase silence, the way fate chases the one person, bold enough to ignore it. And now, they're scrambling, clawing, desperate to hold on to a crown that clearly wants nothing to do with them. The shift has begun, the balance has cracked, and they all know exactly where the crown is heading. Toward the one they refused to see, toward the anomaly they dismissed, toward you. Here's the part. They'll never admit they were being tested. All of them, every strategist, every observer, every self-declared mastermind who thought the world revolved around their predictions. The test wasn't written, it wasn't spoken, it wasn't even intentional. It existed in the silence between their decisions, in the gaps they refused to examine, in the moments they thought no one was watching. And the Joker? He couldn't stop laughing. "Oh, this is priceless," he hissed, folding into that crooked smile. They didn't even know they were being graded, because the exam wasn't about force. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about noise. It was about awareness, presence, precision, self-honesty. A test designed to reveal one thing who sees the invisible before the world demands it. They failed instantly, spectacularly, embarrassingly. They chased illusions. They crowned pretenders. They fed their egos with cheap victories and hollow data. All while you, quiet, unassuming, ghost-like, walked through the cracks. They couldn't be bothered to notice. You weren't hiding. They just weren't looking. The Joker leaned forward, voice low, taunting. They spent years studying enemies, but they never studied themselves. And that's why they collapsed. Not because you outmaneuvered them with brute force, but because you exposed the flaw they built their entire world on. They only recognize threats that scream. They only guard doors that shake. They only prepare for storms that announce themselves with thunder. You did none of that. You moved like a question. They were too arrogant to answer. So when the real test arrived, your presence, they failed every metric that mattered. Every blind spot lit up. Every illusion cracked. Every false king trembled. And the Joker clapped slowly, each echo hitting the room like a taunt wrapped in thunder. "Congratulations," he sneered. "You didn't pass the test. You were the test because your existence revealed them. Your arrival graded them. Your silence measured them. They thought they were judges, gatekeepers, architects of who rises and who falls. But the truth is simple. They were students, taking an exam they didn't prepare for, and you were the answer key, standing in the doorway. Systems don't feel fear. They calculate, measure, respond. At least, they're supposed to. But the moment you appeared in the data stream, not as noise, not as a glitch, not as an anomaly, but as something recognizable and impossible at the same time, everything broke. Sensors snapped offline. Cameras flickered. Algorithms spiraled into loops they were never programmed to escape from. It wasn't malfunction. It wasn't sabotage. It was shock. The digital equivalent of a gasp, a flinch, a heartbeat skipping out of rhythm. And the Joker? He nearly doubled over laughing. "Look at this," he cackled, gesturing at the collapsing monitors. "They're trying to scan a ghost with a toy flashlight. Because when the system finally saw you, it didn't know how to see you. You registered as present and absent, solid and transparent, a traceable entity with an untraceable signature. Every line of code that tried to define you split in half, like reality itself, shrugged and said, 'I don't recognize this shape.' The analysts panicked. They slapped keyboards, reloaded interfaces, shouted commands that bounced off dead screens. Nothing. No ID. No category. No known threat profile. Just a presence the system acknowledged with absolute certainty but refused to classify. That's why the room froze. Not because you broke their tech, but because your existence forced their world to confront something outside its vocabulary." The Joker leaned in, grinning like a devil, watching angels drop their swords. "You see what you did?" he whispered. "You didn't crash the system. You made it hesitate, and hesitation is fatal to structures built on certainty." From that moment, the balance shifted, the flow changed, the hierarchy cracked at its foundation. Because once a system recognizes something it cannot process, it stops moving, stops thinking, stops breathing, and for the first time in its perfect, arrogant life, the system froze because of you. There's a moment in every story where the shift happens, not loud, not dramatic, not some thunderclap of destiny, just a quiet, precise instant when everything tilts 1 degree too far to ever tilt back. For them, that moment was you. Not your actions, not your strategy, not even your presence, just the realization, the horrifying, paralyzing realization that you weren't passing through, you were replacing. The Joker felt it before they did. He inhaled sharply, grinned wide, and whispered, "Oh, there it is." Because once the system froze, once the crown drifted, once the ghost became visible, the hierarchy collapsed under its own weight. They scrambled, shouting orders that no longer mattered, pulling levers connected to nothing, running protocols designed for a world that no longer existed. Every move they made dragged them deeper into the quicksand. Meanwhile, you didn't rush, didn't force, didn't posture. You simply stood there, calm, unbothered, anchored, and the room rearranged itself around your existence, because that's what happens when the center shifts. Everything else falls into orbit or falls apart. They chose the second. Their alliances cracked, their confidence shattered, their entire structure built on illusion and legacy buckled under the pressure of a truth they never prepared for. You weren't an intruder. You were the correction. The Joker circled them slowly, dragging his fingers across consoles, mocking their frantic breaths. "Funny," he murmured. "They spent years building a world you dismantled simply by existing. That's the turning point, the one they never survived. Not because of an attack, not because of a fight, not because of a clash, but because you showed them what they really were and what you really are. And the moment they saw it, truly saw it, their story ended. Yours began. Here's the twist they never planned for. The crown didn't fall. It followed, not toward the loudest, not toward the strongest, not toward the ones who spent their lives posing for power. It drifted toward the one presence their world wasn't designed to contain. You and the Joker watched it happen with a grin that cut the air, like a blade dipped in laughter. "Well, well," he whispered. "Looks like the ghost finally stopped being polite." Because by now, everyone understood the truth. The room, the analysts, the hierarchy, the entire trembling system. You weren't auditioning. You weren't competing. You weren't waiting to be crowned. You were simply existing, and the crown recognized the difference. It wasn't submission. It wasn't surrender. It was recognition. Pure, inevitable, undeniable recognition. The Joker stepped aside, gesturing dramatically, as if introducing a legend the world wasn't ready for. "They called you nobody," he sneered. "They called you empty, invisible, irrelevant." A soft laugh escaped him. "And that is exactly why you won. Because ghosts aren't bound by rules, aren't trapped by expectations, aren't limited by the stage others build around them. You walked past their thrones like they were furniture. You walked past their leaders like they were mannequins. You walked past their fears like they were whispers. And the crown, once a symbol of control, became a passenger, following the only presence that didn't flinch under its weight. You didn't take it. You didn't claim it. You didn't need to. It chose you, the ghost, the overlooked, the one they pretended didn't exist. And as you stepped out, quiet, steady, unbothered, the Joker's voice drifted behind you, half taunt, half applause. "Careful now. The world's going to want an explanation." But you didn't stop, didn't turn, didn't offer one. Ghosts don't explain. Ghosts don't bow. Ghosts don't inherit. They walk out with the crown like it always belonged to them, and you did.